Hey everyone, welcome into the maiden voyage of a new broadcasting venture here at Longhorn Investments called Who Gives a Flip? With one of my best pals, the burnt orange jacket recipient, the first ever in the history of Longhorn Investments, the man who takes core values and puts them on a pedestal that no one else can reach, Ryan Prometheus Blake. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Jared, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
I appreciate you being here, bringing everything that you bring to this podcast, that amazing smile you got there.
We're 20 seconds in, and we're just already delivering gold. But in all seriousness, Ryan and I, full disclosure, we are loan consultants at Longhorn Investments. We service the DFW area. We can service outside of DFW throughout the state of Texas and any one of the 10 states in which Longhorn Investments lends in. You can go to longhorninvestments.com to figure out the 10 states. I always forget one, like when I'm rattling it off. So Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, Arkansas, Ohio, New Mexico, Georgia, Tennessee, Indiana, Alabama?
Alabama,
Wow.
You got them. You got all 10.
Also, really weird. I don't know if you noticed this. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 instead of going.
Yeah. You know, not everybody can be perfect like me, and that's okay.
That's true. Ryan, you've been doing this since when?
2018.
Okay, and I started
as a lender.
Yeah.
Investing 2009.
Yeah, and I started here at Longhorn Investments in 2019. In all seriousness, there's not anyone better or more knowledgeable that I know than Ryan, and so we're excited to kind of join forces together, hopefully provide a little insight throughout each episode. And you can email, our emails are pretty easy, so if you have any thoughts, and we'll probably figure out other ways where you can reach out to us and try and provide some feedback on what you'd like us to talk about. But Blake at longhorninvestments.com. He's Ryan Blake. I'm Jared Sandler, so it's Jay Sandler at longhorninvestments.com. Pretty simple stuff. But we figured we're recording this a week and a half before the NFL season starts. It is the height of fantasy football drafting. So we're going to have a draft-style conversation about things we notice that allow borrowers to be successful. Does that sound about right?
That sounds right. We are going to be drafting those key things that people need to make sure that they are going to be successful, not just on their first deal, but every single deal that they're doing.
Okay, so Ryan and I played an intense game of rock, paper, scissors in the back. I won. I deferred. Ryan then deferred to me, but because of the Geneva Convention, I am allowed to defer once more. You can't. There can't be a fourth deferral. So you actually have the first pick.
All right. And I've thought about this. I consulted with my War Room team, and we've decided that the number one overall pick for the best thing that's going to make you successful as an investor is going to be to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, what are you doing? That means knowing your ARV, having a really solid idea of what your rehab's going to be, knowing what your expenses are going to be, not just the cost to close, but your holding costs, your cost to sell, making sure you have all those numbers down and being able to come up with a solid estimate. It's still going to be an estimate because you never know what you're going to do until you get into the deal, but still a solid estimate to start with. I think knowing your numbers is super key.
Yeah, we both see this where whether it's someone who's green, which is okay, right? Because we work with first-time investors, or someone who is maybe trusting someone else without putting the work in themselves. They feel like a property has a certain value, and it doesn't, right?
Exactly. Or sometimes they're misled.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
numbers.
yeah. So, yeah, the numbers are key. And that's, we at Longhorn Investments will fund 100% of purchase and repair, up to 70% of the ARV for a flip, 75% for a rental. So understanding how your numbers behave within our loan will give you a good idea of, does this work for me? Does this loan product work for me? Is this a deal that, if you rolling in, you got like $5 million in your bank account, so your appetite for certain deals might be greater than mine. If I've just got $20,000, both can work. I can do a deal working with Longhorn for $20,000. You can with $5 million, but you're probably gonna not be as strict on the cash to close. I need a deal that probably is going to be close to, if not covered at 100%, right?
Completely agree. Yeah. And it's something else to think about. They need to know just how to get down to that true net profit number. Because I get told all the time, like, hey, there's $100,000 spread here. And I have to tell them, like, no, you don't actually have $100,000 here. That's $100,000 gross. But you need to take into account your cost of financing, your cost of title and insurance, your cost of property taxes here in Texas. If you're doing one of the Texas deals, those are pretty high. Your cost of sale. You got your real estate commissions that you're going to be paying out. There's so much that goes into getting to the true net number that you need to make sure you are accounting for all of that. Because otherwise you get to the end of the day and you're bringing cash to close. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to make money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's part of what Jared and I offer is we will run through some of these numbers with you to help make sure that you are getting into a good deal.
So my first pick, I'm going to go with just having a team. And that can mean a lot of different things to different people. But
I see what you're doing there. Team,
yeah.
Kind of bringing it back to the football.
Yeah.
I got it.
I think, we'd obviously love for each of us to be a part of your team, but having a lender, right? You want to be ready. That's what I've said. You don't know when the right deal is going to come, and sometimes the right deal comes maybe a couple weeks before you think you're ready. But if you know where to turn, then you can make yourself ready pretty quickly. Having the lender, having a general contractor in place who you trust and you like, and that's a challenge, right? Because the right GC for you might not be the right GC for me. Hopefully, if we're both investors and we got our executive producer, Michael Prager's here, he's going to represent Longhorn. We're both investors. Ryan, hey, who have you used on the lending side? Oh, I've used Longhorn. They're great. Chances are your referral and the opinions of others will translate or could translate. Not necessarily with GCs, because your great experience might not lead to my great experience, because I might be their project that's like the one too many, right? So finding a GC you can trust, and then everyone's got a different level of experience or wherewithal. If you've got a realtor who has an investor savviness about them and they understand ARV, they understand the numbers you're looking for, and that's great. If you've got maybe a wholesaler who you really trust, you believe in the properties that they have as their inventory that can be a direct line for you, great. Just if it's just like a mentor who you trust, not someone who's out there to take your money and then never hear from again, but a legitimate person who can advise you throughout this process, especially when you're starting. I think that can be valuable too. Now, there's some sharks in the water there, but that's why I think it's important to find the right people to make up your team.
And I would throw in their insurance agent.
Yeah, there you go.
I got burned on my third deal that I ever did back in 2010. Someone came and stole my air conditioning. I thought, no big deal. I have insurance. And then I go to make my claim, and they say, well, this isn't your home. You have a homeowner's insurance policy. This was a vacant dwelling. We're not going to cover you. The agent I had been using knew exactly what I was doing because she held the policy on my personal home and on my first two flips. She knew I was flipping, and she was just writing the wrong policies. And the bad news was, not only did I get rejected, the same day I got rejected, I'm guessing the exact same person that stole my air conditioning unit came in and stripped all of the copper out of the house. Luckily, they didn't go for the freshwater lines or anything, so I didn't have a flood, but all of the wiring pulled. All of the plumbing that they were able to cut off was pulled. It was terrible. And it's because I didn't have the right people on my team. I had a good insurance agent, but I didn't have the right insurance agent for a real estate investor. So that's another person you really want to have on the team.
You like to think that plans are just going to go smoothly and that that's not going to happen to me and someone's not going to come and steal my AC unit or whatever. But all right, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't happen in your first 4 deals or your 7th deal. Maybe it happens on the 8th and you want to make sure you're protected. Maybe it happens in your 3rd deal. You want to be protected. Otherwise, it becomes a nightmare situation to have to deal with, right?
I was worried. I thought I was going to have to start bringing a sleeping bag and just sleep on the floor there. Didn't come to that. I was able to learn my lesson. We got proper insurance on the house after the fact, so it didn't help me. And we ended up losing a little bit on that one. But at the end of the day, I learned so much from that.
Haven't had that problem again, right?
Haven't had that problem again.
All
well, I've had stuff stolen. Haven't had the issue with insurance.
Yeah,
Learned
that's
my
fair.
lesson on
That's
that
fair.
one.
All right, you're on the clock. What's your second pick?
All right. This is going to upset some people, but hey, who gives a flip, right?
Who gives a flip?
Allen Iverson would hate this, but practice. Practice, practice, practice. We're talking about practice here. So that means you need to be practicing by making offers. You need to be showing up, even if you have no intention. If you're brand new and you have no intention of buying that wholesale deal, show up to the showing. Walk the property, run your numbers, and figure it out. And then at the end, just ask them, like, hey, what did it actually sell for? That way you can start to figure out, how are my numbers working? Am I accurate in what I would have offered had I done it? Practice pulling comps. Practice estimating rehabs. Practice everything you can, because what you want to do is make sure that you are ready for when you're putting the money on the line. You know, that's preseason. Practice is preseason. You know, the Cowboys aren't running out their star team. They're running out some of the new stuff, trying new things during those preseason games, because they want to be ready when the season starts, when everything counts. When you have the money on the line, that's when it counts. And so you want to make sure that you have ran through as much stuff as you can so that you are ready to go when it's game time.
I like that. Yeah. That, I think, to me, and you probably can think of some borrowers of yours who you've worked with over, a long period of time, and maybe those first couple deals, they tell you, one of the exercises we do, we ask people to let us know, hey, what do you think the ARV is going to be? It gives us an idea. We can then send them an estimate. We get an appraiser out, so it's not like your estimation is going to influence the deal. But, if you give us a low number, then we might be able to tell you, wait a second, this is what you think the ARV is going to be, because usually people don't shoot low by a lot. Usually their estimations, if anything, are high. So there's some people who, they'll be more conservative, but we can tell you, hey, well, if those are the numbers, it's not going to make a lot of sense, right? But point being, the more you practice, I think the more on point you can be with your comps too. I think comps are a tough thing for someone to just totally understand from the start.
Super difficult. And it's tough in some places like Texas to actually get true comps. We're a non-disclosure state, and that means that those sales are not actually disclosed publicly. So it's very difficult to find out what a home sold for.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go my second pick, last pick of the draft. Might have a bonus pick, we'll see. But this is more of a nebulous thing, and I'm drafting maybe not my head, but a head and not a heart. Okay? We see this all the time. Part of the beauty of this is that when you're buying a retail house, a house you're going to live in, your heart, your emotions, oh, this is so pretty, and this is what I pictured, and oh, honey, this is what we've always dreamt of. That's not what this is. This is, where's the opportunity? What are the numbers? Does it make sense? Yes or no? Right? It's very simple. And where I see people get in trouble is when they allow their heart to get into the process because they've now convinced themselves, this is my deal. This is the one. I'm gonna make it big, and then an appraisal comes back and it's low. And instead of receiving that from a licensed professional who is assessing the value and being like, okay, this is my roadmap to how to proceed. A low appraisal, either you can use as leverage to go back to the seller. You can maybe reassess your numbers, and maybe I don't need to put in all this money in rehab because I'm not getting the ROI. Or maybe, and people don't love this, but maybe it's hey, why don't you run away from this deal? Let's punt and let's be ready for the next deal. Because we have all heard these stories of people who have pushed through despite a low appraisal, which is basically a warning sign of do not proceed at times. And then when it's time to sell the house, they lose all this money because they're not making the money that they had in their head that they believed they'd make. The other way this comes into play is with your rehab. Be realistic with your rehab. Don't give me best case scenario, because best case scenario rarely happens. Or if you want to give me best case scenario, that's fine, but just make sure you're prepared if best case scenario doesn't happen financially. If you're telling me you can get all these items done for $20,000, I need to know that if it goes to $25,000, heck, if it goes to $30,000, that you're going to be okay. Maybe it doesn't get there, but we've got to think that way out of protection and concern for our borrowers. We got to What if, the contractor finds something, hey, Ryan, sorry, I know I told you it's going to be 5,000, but we saw this deal, and in order for us to, X, Y, and Z, it's going to be 7,500. That conversation can't make or break a deal for you. It stinks. No one wants that. But so you've got to approach things realistically. You can't let your emotions and this fairy tale come into play. And you've got to be willing to hear things that might point you in a different direction at times and not be so stubborn that you can't be flexible throughout the process.
And can I add something else to that? Almost the opposite happened to me yesterday with a borrower. They have a good deal in a historical district. It has solid comps. We already got the appraisal back. It is a good deal. And 2 days before closing now, he found out what the wholesaler is going to make because of an assignment. So he's going to see, and he saw that they're making $50,000. He's looking to make maybe $60,000, and his thought process was to walk away from the deal. He said, "I'm paying too much for it," because he's thinking the wholesaler is now making just as much as he is, and he's going to have to do all the work, which is true. It's a valid point. But then I kind of slowed him down and I talked to him and I was like, let's say you didn't know what the wholesaler was making. Would you still do the deal? Was this still a good deal? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, so your emotion is telling you to back out, but your head that ran all the numbers, and we already have all the solid numbers, we have the appraisal back, your head is telling you this is still a good deal. Don't let your emotion talk you out of a good deal. So just as much as you were saying, don't let your emotion talk you
100%.
into a bad deal. Don't let your emotion talk you out of a good deal.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It's something that I've seen more than once, and some people follow through on it, and it feels bad. One of them from like 4 years ago, I ended up buying. They almost stopped doing it because I was like, if you're not going to do it, I asked permission, but I said, are you okay if I were to buy this one? And then they stopped, and they're like, well, maybe I should still do it. And I was like, I think you should. I was very open, but they ended up backing out.
And you bought it?
Deal. Yeah, because the numbers worked. The wholesaler on that one, there were 3 wholesalers. That one was daisy chain. 3 wholesalers, between the 3 of them, making $60K. The deal was only going to make $40K to the end investor, but I was okay with the $40,000. I didn't care that they made $60K.
Yeah, what does it mean? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Because my head knows the $40K meets my personal minimum, what I wanted to make on that deal. And it was post-COVID, so deals weren't as good back then. I mean, this one would have been great if that original wholesaler had done it all the way to the end, but they made a bunch of money. The first wholesaler made like $20K on it. Good for them.
Yeah.
And good for the other 2 guys that made an additional 40.
Yeah.
Great. I don't care. I made the 40 I wanted off of it. 35. I mean, like we said, things don't always go as planned.
Hey.
I made 35 off of it.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, there you go. So those are our fantasy qualities of successful investor teams. It's a new fantasy sport that is going to just take over America at some point in the next 100 years. So
check in the, maybe in the description below, we'll put the whole point structure that we use. And
Yeah. It's a PPR league, full PPR. And it's a super flex league too. So so we still got to fill out our roster, but we just wanted to give you a little start. All right, there you go. That's episode 1 of Who Gives a Flip. He's Ryan Blake. I'm Jared Sandler. You can reach out to us, rblake@longhorninvestments.com, jsandler@longhorninvestments.com. Be on the lookout for more conversations that we'll have to help. To hopefully help you on your journey to join or thrive within the real estate investment world.
We'll see you on the next one.